First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham HaKodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 7th chapter. Do no evil, so shall no harm come unto thee, right? Because what goes around comes around, right? What you sow, you're going to reap. If you do evil, there's a judgment for it. And if you abstain from evil, then you escape that judgment. Depart from the unjust, and iniquity shall turn away from thee. Because what sticks close by to the unjust? Wickedness. And if you stay away from them, so shall wickedness stay away from you. My son, sow not upon the furrows of unrighteousness. So the furrows are like the paths or the openings made through unrighteousness. So don't be joined or build upon the platform or the foundation of unrighteousness, and thou shalt not reap them sevenfold. Because if you plant in the ground of unrighteousness, what do you think you're going to reap? The judgment of it. So avoid it altogether. Seek not of the Lord preeminence. Now, what this means is not, it's basically saying, like, don't ask the Lord, that preeminence is like making you great or, putting you on some high level. But don't ask the Lord for that for your own glory, right? Like you're asking it so you can glory in the flesh, right? Or you're asking it from a prideful heart. Neither of the king the seat of honor. And why not? Because that seat of honor is going to come with, temptation, right? It's going to come with danger. It's not going to be just a fun ride. So be careful what you ask for. Verse 5, justify not thyself before the Lord. Okay, and boast not of thy wisdom before the king. Basically, it's like bragging about your righteousness. You're trying to show the Lord how righteous you are. And a good example of that is actually, let's go real quick to the book of Luke. This is an example. Luke chapter 18, verse 11. It says here, the Pharisee, Luke 18:10, two men went up into the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee, the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, and here he begins to justify himself, right? I thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote upon his breast, saying, God be merciful to me, a sinner. So this Pharisee here, he's basically, Lord, I do this, I do that, I don't do this, I don't do that. Lord is not interested in that, man. He wants a humble spirit. It says, and boast not of thy wisdom before the king, because then you try to, you're trying to toot your own horn, and that's reproachable. Verse 6, seek not to be judged, being not able to take away iniquity, lest at any time thou fear the person of the mighty, and stumbling block in the way of thy uprightness. Let's read this in the GNTD. It says, don't set your heart on being a judge unless you have the strength of character it takes to put an end to injustice. If you let yourself be influenced by someone in a position of power, your integrity will be damaged. So you be very careful. Don't get into it if you know you can't handle it. Offend not against the multitude of a city. Yeah, don't sin against the multitude of a city or the public. And then shalt thou not cast thyself down among the people, because if you do sin against them, you're going to bring a disgrace upon yourself, all right, in the midst of everybody. Bind not one sin upon another, for in the one thou shalt not be unpunished. So don't go adding sin onto sin, because it's not like the first sin in itself you're going to be punished for. And likewise, any subsequent ones after that. Say not, God will look upon the multitude of my oblations. Slakia, and when I offer to the Most High, he will accept it. Right, and that's basically the mindset that, the Lord is he's gonna look upon, as it says, the multitude. Like you've offered an abundance of offerings to the Lord. So that whenever you offer to the Lord, He's gonna accept it, as though that is a cloak to be able to bind sin upon another, and not really be as worried about it because of the multitudes of your oblations. But the Lord He doesn't really care about it. Ultimately, He's looking at what's within. Verse 10, be not faint-hearted when thou makest thy prayer. Right, because when you pray to the Lord, you got to believe. Pray in faith. Don't pray wavering or having doubt. And neglect not to give alms. Laugh no man to scorn in the bitterness of his soul, for there is one which humbleth and exalteth. See, so you see somebody in a really distressed or distraught state, don't laugh them to scorn. All right, because they're already going through whatever it is they're going through. But be mindful that as you're laughing somebody to scorn, there is one which is the Most High that humbleth and exalteth, and just like that, he can very quickly humble you. Verse 12. Devise not a lie against thy brother, neither do the like to thy friend. Right, don't lie against your brother, don't slander them. Likewise, don't do the same to your friend, because that's a very foul thing to do. Use not to make any manner of lie, or the custom thereof. Slack it, for the custom thereof is not good. All right, and basically what it means is, devise or use not mean don't lie at all. All right, because that's not good practice, right? The custom thereof is not good. Verse 14, use not many words in the multitude of elders, and make not much babbling when thou prayest. Yeah, because when you're amongst elders, you should be more inclined to listen and to learn, rather than to speak. There's a lot more you can learn from them than they can learn from you. And as it says, and make not much babbling when thou prayest, right? Get to the point. You ask the Lord, or you pray to the Lord for what it is, the extra boilerplate, so to speak. It's not necessary. A lot of these these churches, they do that a lot. Hate not laborer's work, neither husbandry, which the Most High hath ordained. Yeah, don't be lazy. Don't hate to do to put in hard work, because though him that is slothful, tells you that in the book of Proverbs, is going to come to poverty. Number not thyself among the multitude of sinners. Right, when it says number, it means like to join, right, or to be joined with or partake, among the multitude of sinners. But remember that wrath will not tarry long, right? Remember that the wrath of the Lord is only but a period, is only but a moment, or a matter of time before it comes down upon the sinners. Humble thyself greatly, for the vengeance of the ungodly is fire and worms. Yeah. So the ungodly are not humble. What's the opposite of not being humble? Being proud. Okay, so to avoid the demise or the judgment of the ungodly, remain humble, because the vengeance of the ungodly was to come upon them is fire, which is death or destruction, and worms, which is likewise destruction, because that signifies decay, or the breaking down of your body by decomposes, right? Which is a dark saying, or another way of referring to death. Change not a friend for any good by no means. So don't give up, okay, a friend for anything. Neither a faithful brother for the gold of Ophir, because they're more valuable than that. Forgo not a wise and good woman, for her grace is above gold, right? So if the Lord has blessed you with a wise and good woman, don't let her go. All right, you may think, oh, it's just for the best. No. All right, as it says, her grace is above gold. And sometimes you won't realize that until you forego her, and then that regret is going to sit with you for a long, long time. It says, whereas thy servant worketh truly, entreat him not evil, nor the hireling that bestoweth himself wholly for thee. Right. So if your servant or the hireling is working, right, they're doing their job, don't mistreat them. Let thy soul love a good servant, and defraud him not of liberty. Yeah, if the servant is good, be good unto him, and don't defraud him of liberty. All right, basically don't withhold freedom from him, but that's the liberty when it's due. Verse 22, hast thou cattle? Have an eye to them, and if they be for thy profit, keep them, keep them with thee. Let's read that in the GNTD. It says here, take good care of of the animals you own. If they make money for you, keep them. Let thy soul love it. Wait, slack here. Verse 23, hast thou children? Instruct them and bow down their neck from their youth. All right, meaning, discipline them. Okay, instruct them and discipline them from a young age, because then that's going to stick with them, right? Whatever manners you instill in them. Hast thou daughters? Have care of their body, and shew not thyself cheerful toward them. So you got to guard their chastity, right? You got to guard them, because especially if you have daughters, they only have one hymen, and so you want to make sure that you're really keeping a close eye on them. And as it says, shew not thyself cheerful toward them. Don't be smiling all the time, because they have to fear and revere you. All right, because it is through that they're going to, take heed to your words, to your authority, or else they're going to go out there and do what they want to do. Verse 25, marry thy daughter, right, as in give her into marriage. And so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter, right? It's because that's one of the one of the big tasks you have to deal with, right, as a father, if you have a daughter. But give her to a man of understanding. Right? Don't just give her up to anybody. If one that you've proved, to know, okay, this is a man of understanding. He's going to take good care of her. He's going to appreciate her. And then I don't have to worry about her being in a difficult situation because of this man. Hast thou a wife after thy mind? Forsake her not, but give not thyself over to a light woman. A wife after your mind is one that, she is it feels like she's made for you, right? It's like, she's just right for you, and if things are working out between you two, don't forsake her, right? But give not thyself over to a light woman. The word light there is referring to a woman that's like morally loose, right? That's not grounded in virtue. No, don't give yourself over to her. Honor thy father with thy whole heart, and forget not the sorrows of thy mother, right? Don't forget the things that your parents went through, to bring you up, right? The sacrifices they they had to make. So honor them. Remember that thou wast begotten of them, and how canst thou recompense them the things which they have done for thee? You see, you came forth from them, and you can't pay them back for the things that they have done for you. It's a lot, the sacrifices, and you won't fully understand until you have children. Fear the Lord with all thy soul, and reverence his priests. Love him that made thee with all thy strength, and forsake not his ministers. Those are his servants. And who's the one that made you? Yahweh, right? Bahasham Yahushai. Fear the Lord and honor his priests, or honor the priest, because the priests serve the Lord, and give him his portion as it is commanded thee. When you go to offer to the Lord, there's a certain portion that goes to the priest. Don't try to withhold that. The first fruits and the trespass offering and the gifts of the shoulders and the sacrifice of sanctification and the first fruits of the holy things. And stretch thine hand unto the poor, that thy blessing may be perfected. When you stretch your hand onto the poor, that means you give them, right? You share what you have, as best you can with them, and the Lord is going to make, as it says, your blessing perfected. A gift hath grace in the sight of every man living, and for the dead detain it not. Let's read that here in the GNTD. It says, be generous to every living soul, and gracious to the memory of the dead. NLT, not NLT, verse 34, and that's GNTD, not NLT. But yeah, verse 34 says, fail not to be with them that weep, and mourn with them that mourn. Right, so, yeah, right, so, those that are weeping, you see them, they're in that sort of, sad state, comfort them, right? Don't hesitate, because that shows forth, that loyalty. It shows forth you're a good friend. And when you're in a heavy position, they're more more inclined to come there and be there for you. That's basically what they're saying. Be there for them, right? And mourn with them that mourn. Be not slow to visit the sick, for that shall be for that shall make thee to be beloved. You see, if you frequently visit them, you see how they're doing, you check up on them, they're gonna think about it, and they're gonna acknowledge and love you all the more for it. Verse 36: Whatsoever thou takest in hand, remember the end, that and thou shalt never do amiss. See, so whatever it is that you take in hand or you set to do, right? Keep in mind, what the end of everything is going to be. I read this in the GNTD, verse 36. It says, "Whatsoever you do, remember that someday you must die. As long as you keep this in mind, you will never sin." And that brings us to the end of the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 7th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. And until next time, Shalom.